I don't want to play this game on hardcore. It's just too difficult. What is it like to survive in a world where every enemy is dangerous, every strike could be your last, and the path to your goal is filled with challenges? I decided to find out by starting my journey in Assassin's Creed, Odyssey on the hardest difficulty. There will be no easy victories, bandits, predators, and harsh conditions are ready to break anyone. But I won't give up. Let's see how I handled this challenge. My adventure began with a tutorial, where we learned about the battle of the Spartans against Xerxes' army. We took control of King Leonidas himself, which immediately set an epic tone. The training fight was exciting. My task was to defeat several enemy commanders, using powerful abilities and learning some interesting combos. After taking out the commanders, I faced their leader. At first, I didn't fully understand how dodging worked, which made the fight tricky. But after getting the hang of it, I managed to defeat the enemy. After a crushing victory, we are introduced to a young woman who finds an ancient spear. She hopes to use it to travel to the future and change the course of history. At this point, I was asked to choose my character and difficulty level. Of course, I selected the Nightmare difficulty for maximum immersion and maximum humiliation from the enemy. We are transported to 431 BC, the beginning of the Peloponnesian War. The focus shifts to the main character, Alexios, and his friend, the eagle Ikaros. Alexios is a mercenary, and he has a small hut, a modest home. But suddenly, two mercenaries show up and start threatening us. I had to deal with them, while the game unlocked my starting armor and weapons. After I subdued the enemies, a girl named Phoebe approached. She's an orphan, and our hero takes her under his wing. Phoebe informed me that I needed to go to Marcus, as he wanted to talk. She also asked me to speak to Zeus, hoping he'd give her an eagle like mine. I promised I'd try. But the bandits were not done yet. I was given the choice to either kill them or let them go. The game allows you to spare everyone, so I decided to let them go and headed to Marcus. Before heading out, I decided to check what new gear I had available. I had two sets to choose from, the warrior and the assassin set. I decided to start with the warrior set. After equipping it, I headed to Marcus. He told me that he had bought a vineyard and wanted to start making and selling wine. This surprised Alexios, as Marcus knew nothing about it. But on top of that, Marcus owed me money, and when I asked if he could pay me back, he said he had lent the money to a friend and suggested I go to him to collect the debt. With no other choice, I agreed, but asked for a horse. Marcus hesitated but eventually agreed. The horse on the left was fast and could run up steep slopes like a goat, the one in the center was calm and fearless, while the horse on the right was for a true warrior. I couldn't really tell the difference between the central and right ones, but I chose the one on the right. Suddenly, a woman rushed up to us and told me that bandits had kidnapped Phoebe. I immediately set out to rescue her. The woman told me they had taken her towards the beach, and there I found them. Quietly, I dealt with the bandits and freed Phoebe. She thanked me and said she was no longer alone, her family was now me and Marcus. Next, we saw Alexios' childhood memories, where he trained with his father. He had a happy family, and his father told him how proud he was of him. After the flashbacks, I was introduced to my first serious opponent, a bounty hunter at level 5. At that point, I definitely wasn't ready to face him. I decided to talk to Juris about the money. He said that Marcus was demanding double the amount because he hadn't paid back the debt on time. I decided to forgive him, as it didn't seem fair. Juris also told me that Marcus had borrowed the money for the vineyard from Cyclops, which didn't sound good. When I returned to Marcus to get more information, I saw him talking to Cyclops' thug, the leader of the local gang. Cyclops threatened Marcus, if he didn't pay back the debt, he would destroy both him and me, and even Phoebe, as soon as he returned to the island. But Marcus promised to repay the debt. After the conversation with Marcus, he reminded me that he was the one who took in the little boy and helped him. I understood that I had to help him solve this problem. Our conversation was interrupted by a woman who offered me a job. I agreed, but first asked to have my bow repaired. She agreed. I tested it, gained experience to level up, and chose my first combat skill, Warrior's Charge. My task was to figure out why the wood supplies for the bows were delayed. I learned that bandits were the ones who interfered with the delivery. I also met a bounty hunter who punished me, and I didn't want to cross paths with him again. I dealt with the bandits, decided to open a new area, which turned out to be very convenient, as it allowed me to teleport between locations. I broke my legs a bit, completed the task for the woman, received money, and stumbled upon a new one, to find an ancient spear in a cave. I accepted the quest. On my way to Marcus, I met Phoebe, who asked me to save her friend. A terrible disease had started in their village. I promised to look into it. Upon returning to Marcus, he suggested that I steal the obsidian eye from the bandit Cyclops. As they say, stealing from thieves is fine. I had no choice, so I agreed. First, I decided to take on Phoebe's task. I went to the ruined village struck by the disease, and here I was faced with a difficult moral choice. Phoebe's friend's family was infected with a terrible disease, but they were only in the early stages. And while the choice was between saving lives on one side or the other, I decided that disappointing Phoebe would be worse than letting these people harm innocent citizens. But I understood that they could spread the disease to other villages, although I hoped that wouldn't happen in the game. I helped the family, and Phoebe was very grateful. For this, I gained a lot of experience and chose a new ability, Precision Shot, or a guided arrow with increased damage. Next, I decided to search for the spear. I found the right cave, got a little confused about how to swim inside, but eventually figured it out. Inside the cave, there were several enemies, and they were eliminated. Sometimes I had to experiment, but in the end, I succeeded. I explored the cave, gathered resources, but didn't find the spear, or so I thought. When I returned to report the information, I said I hadn't found the spear, but it turned out that it somehow appeared in my inventory. In the end, I kept it, since I couldn't initiate the conversation again. I really like this weapon. Keeping enemies at a distance on this difficulty is always useful, but there was one downside: the damage wasn't very high. While studying the map, I met a stranger sitting by the cave. He told me there were gods inside who would grant any wish for a sacrifice. I decided to check it out, but it turned out there was a passage, and behind it, the same bandits were hiding, so I dealt with them. After that, I wanted to open a new area. And of course, I wanted to try fighting enemies who were higher level than me. That was a bad idea, and I was quickly put in my place. Guys, this is where the first episode ends. Please support the video with a like if you want to see the next part. Good luck, and see you soon.